Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Filmcast, a podcast about movies. I'm David Chen, and Barbenheimer, I didn't even know her. Joining me today is Devindra Hardawar.
I didn't win, but at least Dave is last.
And Jeff Kanata.
Someday I hope to be Kenuff to win this contest.
Wow, that was a really personal one, Devindra.
Wow.
Joining us today for this very special episode, he is senior reporter at IO9 Gizmodo, Jermaine Lucier.
Is that the sound of freedom? No, it's the sound of 5 people being very bad at this, even worse.
And Peter Serreta.
None of us put Barbie in the top 7 because we're stupid.
We are not enough, actually.
Well, we are not good enough. Well,
Yep.
As those opening statements may have clued you in, today on the Filmcast is our 2023 Summer Movie Wager results episode. At the beginning of the summer, we gathered together. All 5 of us predicted what we thought would be the top 10 films of the summer, including 3 dark horses. And now at the end of the summer, we are gathering together to count down what the actual top 10 movies are, talk about where we went wrong. I have brought a lot of receipts. I will play clips throughout this episode. You will hear that a clip has begun by a harp sound, and a harp sound will also close out the clip. So that's how you know we're back into this present reality where we're all very bad at this. You can find more episodes of the Filmcast at thefilmcast.com. Email us at /filmcast@gmail.com. Find us across Threads, Instagram, and YouTube at youtube.com/@thefilmcastpod, at thefilmcastpod, where you can find us on all those places. We're also on TikTok at the Filmcast. Okay.
Dave, we were always bad at this. It's not returning to a time where we're bad at this. We were always
continue.
bad at it.
What
we
I
were
meant
just
was like
too dumb to know it at the time.
what I meant was fasting forward. Like
I understand
we're
what you were
back
saying.
into
I'm
present
making a joke.
Reconciling with how bad we are now.
Indeed. Well, let's share a few overall thoughts on the summer before we dive into the top 10. And I do want to point out, by the way, whoever won the summer movie wager, that person gets to choose a movie or TV show under 3 hours long that we will all watch and review as part of the podcast. So that's the stakes here. So at the end, it's going to be super hard to figure it out during the course of the episode. So at the end, we'll reveal who won the summer movie wager. We also want to give a big shout out to Dennis, who put together thesummermoviewager.com. Every year he makes this competition really, really fun and interesting and engaging throughout. And unfortunately gave me a lot of hope until the last 2 weeks.
Dennis, you're awesome. Thank you.
Exactly.
Things really do change a lot quickly in those last few weeks.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Okay,
the thing I have learned over the years is you never want to be in the lead midway through the summer.
So true, Jeff Canada. Very accurate. So, okay, let's talk about the summer. And I think what's notable to me about the summer is in the past, there have been things that have happened where it's like, oh, well, our lists were like overall, or 1 or 2 people's lists were overall pretty good, except for one title, right? Like, we didn't see Wonder Woman happening, or we didn't see Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1 getting first, right? Like, that's kind of what it's been like in the past. What's notable to me about this year's Summer Wager is all of us got multiple things horribly wrong, right? That's kind of what feels notable. These scores that we got are some of the lowest I think we've ever gotten.
Which is part of the fun of the summer movie wager.
Absolutely.
Honestly. It's just like walking into complete messes. Yeah, it's great.
Multiple surprises upon multiple surprises. So that's one big observation I had. Another observation is just a lot of the stuff we thought would be in the top 10 wasn't in the top 10. I'll just give one example. Fast X was not in the top 10, right? Like that's, if you had told us at the beginning of summer, hey, by the way, Fast X, not even going to be in the top 10, I think we would be completely shocked by that.
But let's just be clear. Louis Leterrier, we love him. Big fan. Louis, we
He's
love
a good
you.
guy.
Absolutely.
Great.
Absolutely.
Hope you have a great summer.
It's not like it was that far off from the
I mean, he's
top 10.
11.
I know.
Yeah.
11.
We couldn't have predicted that at the end of the summer, the phrase, that movie wasn't enough, would actually make a lot of sense to all of us. It makes complete sense.
So anyway, those are a couple of my observations. Does anyone else have any reflections they want to share before we get to the top 10?
I got a bunch. But I think the main one was, hey, maybe, next time the summer movie wager shouldn't be a bunch of dudes. I feel like big blind spots around here.
I don't know.
But
I can't imagine what you're talking about. No mistakes were made.
No mistakes were
I
made.
mean, luckily we learned our lesson from Wonder Woman several years ago.
Absolutely.
I was wondering. I just feel like it's one of the most unpredictable summers ever, and not even just because of the top movies and the order. Just it's like we don't understand audience appetites.
Yeah.
Or like our audience or maybe or more accurately, audience appetites really have begun to shift a little bit. And I think we'll definitely get into it. But the whole Barbenheimer thing is like this weird mix of like underserved audiences / good content / like social media mega bomb. Like it's crazy. Like so we have no idea what's going to happen at this thing any year is my thing.
We are incredibly out of touch and not very smart. But also, I agree with you, Jermaine, because like the combination of the Barbenheimer phenomenon with the Sound of Freedom phenomenon, I think both of those are sort of unprecedented in the summer as far as these external forces that are shaping the top 10 list in ways that we just couldn't possibly have anticipated. Like this, and by external, I mean just not just sort of natural people going to see a movie because they're interested in the movie. There's these other things that are now at play. This kind of the Instagram of it all, the social media flexing of it all, these campaigns that aren't really about advertising necessarily. That are grassroots and viral, and it's interesting, it's complicated, and it makes us look like idiots.
I almost wonder sometimes too, like it is a little more performative now too. Like it's not about we could dive into this more deeply, but I think some of the Barbenheimer stuff wasn't just about going to see the movies, but it was to be seen to be going to the movies.
Exactly.
And that was really interesting.
Yeah. Same Minions, very similar phenomenon, by the way. Like it's kind of like it makes going its own event. It's separate and distinct than actually seeing.
Doesn't matter what the movie is, but in
doesn't
this
matter
case,
what the movie
it actually turned out pretty great for both movies. So
indeed.
But I want to congratulate Jeff. Someone replied to me on Twitter. MG Doran says that Jeff is the only person to ever have done this. It's the third time that the number one movie has been on his dark horse list. The other two times were Wonder Woman and Guardians of the Galaxy. So congratulations, Jeff.
Congrats.
Yeah.
Pulse on, finger on the pulse, Jeff.
Jeff is the only person. So Dark Horse is basically a movie that you think might be in the top 10, but you don't actually put in the top 10.
Right.
And Jeff is the only person in the history of the Summer Movie Wager that has put 3 films in his Dark Horses that have ended up being number one.
Number one.
Number one.
They're like, I probably won't make the top 10, and they ended up being number one.
Jeff, do you think that has anything to do with the not watching trailers? Like, because you had no idea what Barbie
I actually think
was.
it does. I will make that point later today.
Yes.
But yes,
but
ahead,
also,
Jeff.
is it the children who were wrong? I think that's a real question here for Jeff.
Jeff was better at this game when he was watching trailers. I will say that he was.
I did win it twice back in the day. Yeah. Maybe I need to just rethink my entire worldview here, guys.
Exactly.
For the purpose of this game. Indeed. All right.
I want to. I mean, here's the thing that is most embarrassing to me about that, because it is. I mean, it is embarrassing. But it's fun. Like, I love the unpredictable nature of it. But the embarrassing part comes in for me with Barbie and Wonder Woman, because the fact that they were both number one and I put them as dark horses, I think really betrays a blind spot that I have. And it has to be partly due to the fact that I'm a dude, right? And it is, I had a very big assumption about Barbie that I made very clear on the podcast. I'm sure you'll play clips of it, Dave. But the assumption I had about Barbie was honestly based on the fact that I had seen a tiny sliver of a moment from the movie that seemed to indicate to me that it was going to be sort of not a family-friendly film, and I thought that was really going to hurt it. And so, I mean, I just completely misjudged that and got it wrong. But I have to kind of really do some soul searching as far as the fact that Wonder Woman and Barbie are both massive misses for me over the years. And I got to give more credit to these movies that are aimed at female audiences and understand that they really can dominate the summer. And I don't think the Barbenheimer thing, I think Barbenheimer helped Oppenheimer more than it helped Barbie. And
Agreed.
I think Barbie would have crushed no matter what. I don't think Oppenheimer would have gotten to number 4 without Barbie.
Yeah.
It would have been I think it would have performed very, very well. So I think people were interested in that movie genuinely. But I think Barbie is the force of nature this summer in the same way that Top Gun was the force of nature last summer. And I don't think any of us saw that coming.
Well, Jeff, okay, so first of all, go ahead, Jermaine. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I can't wait to see Jeff overcorrect next year. And he's like, Snow White number 1, Wonder Woman 4, number 2. It's like, Jeff, that doesn't even exist. It's number 2.
Yeah, no, it's that what was that movie? Hooray for Brady or whatever it is.
Yeah.
The Hooray for Brady 2 is my number 1 movie.
So
80 for Brady. Yeah,
it's interesting that you say that no one saw it coming, Jeff. First of all, I want to say I did have a clip prepared, but because the thing that really struck me listening back to the original Summer Movie Wager, the vehemence, Jeff, your vehemence that there's no way parents would take their kids to go see Barbie. Like you're just so fixated on. And meanwhile, all of us that had actually seen the trailer were like, that's like not a big deal at all. Like no one cares about, So I think actually
you had mentioned the tracking too. They was tracking really well.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, but that was a very heartfelt kind of acknowledgement. And now I'm like, I don't even feel like I should play the clip because of like.
I agree. You should not.
All right. Well,
I say play the clip.
It's interesting that you say no one called it because at the very end of the Summer Movie Wager, Jermaine, we're all wrapping up. We're all kind of getting ready to leave this prison that is this podcast window. And Jermaine made a couple of offhanded remarks. Here's Jermaine at the end of the Summer Movie Wager episode.
Who would have guessed? Who would have predicted consensus? Never happened before. Unprecedented.
Which is why we're going to be completely wrong. Barbie's number 1. Haunted Mansion's like number 3.
It's going to be hilarious to see how wildly wrong we all are.
It is every year. No matter how confident you are, you look at that list, you're like, that's the list. There it is. Never right. Never.
Somehow my chances of beating Jermaine have come down to Blue Beetle, guys. Which I think sums up my entire year. But Jermaine, you should have gone with your impulse right there. You got half of it right.
I was listening to that back, and I was like, "Oh my god, I said that!" And then Haunted Mansion. I'm like, "Oh, Haunted Mansion." Well, I really want to undercut myself.
The joke there, though, that Jermaine was making is how that just is wildly unlikely. Like he was saying, "Oh yeah, Barbie's number 1." Like we all realize that that's impossible.
Right. Absolutely.
I think. So Barbie. Let's start. Barbie was number 1. It made $612 million. It was the most successful Warner Brothers film in history. I need everyone to hear this clip, this cri de coeur from me, David Chen, at the Summer Movie Wager episode. Here it is. Because my number 8 choice is also Barbie. I originally had this way higher up because I don't think you guys. I think you guys are all underselling the intensity of fan reaction to the trailers and marketing materials so far. Like, I literally have not seen a love and anticipation for this movie more intense than for literally any other film this summer. So I originally had Barbie much higher up on the list. I originally thought this is going to surprise everyone. It's going to make $300+ million. I no longer feel that's true. I looked up some tracking, and people are expecting it will open at around 30. I think it's probably going to do way better than 30 and still like hold on for quite a bit longer. That's why I put it at the slot. I still remember when Wonder Woman trounced all of us to become the number 1 film of that summer.
Yeah. I don't think Wonder Woman had any masturbation jokes in it.
I don't recall.
Sure I probably did. I mean,
there was a sex joke. There was definitely a sex joke.
Go with your gut, Chen. Go with your gut, Chen.
So close.
I'm going to do the Dave Chen approach next year, where I just say all the possibilities.
Yes, that's it. Yes, Jeff, that describes my list exactly. No,
you don't get credit for not doing something.
You know, to quote Vin Diesel, it don't matter whether you, to paraphrase Vin Diesel, it don't matter whether you lose by an inch or a mile. It's true. I still put it very low. So like, if there's nothing, but I just need you to hear the agony. That's all.
I think
I just want you to hear my,
all in response
agony.
to Jeff. Like that the reason you made that whole thing, Dave. So yeah.
I'll shut up in just a second, but I'll say one more thing about my vehemence that you've noted. That's the whole game of the first episode of the Summer Movie Wager is you come in and you try to convince everyone how confident you are, and then you eat crow. This is the eat crow episode. So I don't think my vehemence has, it's of note, I guess, to you, but it's not of note to me because I feel like that's the whole point is you come in and you're like, yeah, I know what's going on. And then you're shown to be dumb.
Indeed. Well, and I totally accept my part in that too. The tracking led me wrong. Also, I'm just going to put this out there. My wife also led me wrong too on this. I was like, I put
your wife under the bus.
Yeah, that's right. She's like, she said, hey, I don't see anyone watching this film. This movie's not going to make $100 million. And I was like, that really swayed me too. I'm like, oh,
throwing his wife under the
bus. Joy napping is going to be napping on the bed while Dave naps on the couch.
You nap in the doghouse now.
Anyway,
unbelievable.
Barbie, $612 million. This movie was completely unselfish. Yeah.
Dave took no lessons from the actual movie.
Absolutely.
Can I one defense of my Barbie ranking, which I probably can't defend, but I don't know. I thought like Lego Movie is the example here, right? Like Lego Movie did like 400 million or something like that. I was like, this could be the Lego Movie, but Legos appeal to everybody. And I was like, Barbie, at least when I was a kid, appealed to, females. Like none of my guy friends were playing with Barbies.
I was.
Okay, some people were. So I was like, so you got to cut down what the comp is of the Lego Movie down, and then on top of that, then you got to be like, oh, it's opening in August. You only got 3.5 weeks.
It opened in July. Mid-July.
Yeah.
Oh,
which was still pretty.
Okay, then you got 5 weeks, which is not. Okay. Well, anyways, that was my thinking on it, but I was totally wrong. So.
In Peter's defense, he was also listening to Dave's wife.
I was.
That's exactly right. I mean, I think that it turns out when there is a part of the audience that is underserved, or when a certain kinds of stories have been not in theaters for a really long time, people will turn out for them. I think that's something that's a big lesson we've learned for the last few years.
There's also the word of mouth, and like we talked about the social media-ness of it. There's this was a completely unpredictable thing. I think we could have even predicted like number one. I'm sure somebody on the summermoviewager.com got it. Peter and I have a mutual friend named Nate Peaster who works at Disney who told me, he's like, Barbie's gonna be the top 2, and I was like, sure, buddy. And of course, ate that crow. But this one I think was just like. It could have won at like 400, Dave. You originally said like 300 plus as your like joke, but 600 plus is a cultural phenomenon of like the times. Beat The Dark Knight overall worldwide, like it's insane.
It's hard to predict.
It's so exciting.
The marketing machine was also like this was such a blend of like organic excitement plus the marketing machine, and like I think a lot of I forget if it was the marketing that was just like, hey, Barbie and Oppenheimer are together, or did people start making jokes about that online, and then the marketing teams were like, fuel the flame.
Yeah, it was definitely not a planned.
Yes,
in fact, arguably they put that on the same date to try to screw over Christopher Nolan because Barbie is a Warner Brothers movie. Christopher Nolan left Warner Brothers to go to Universal. So it's definitely a purely organic thing.
Christopher Nolan over here is like, your hate makes me stronger every time.
I don't think any marketing person would be like, let's put it on the same day as another highly anticipated movie.
I'm not saying that. I'm
saying
the fact that
is what it was. It was like, the girls are going to go see this and the boys are going to go see this, and not everyone's going to see both. Right.
I think whoever alerted that shift, like, hey, social media is really latching onto this idea of 2 completely disparate movies being kind of funny next to each other. Like, let's just run with that. Let's run with it.
I think that's absolutely a part of it, but also Barbie made double the money of Oppenheimer. Double.
Yeah.
So Barbie is the phenomenon,
I agree with you on that, Jeff. I think Oppenheimer benefited from Barbie way more so than the other way around.
Yes.
It was half the length, so that was a tiny bit. You are right. You are right.
Yeah. The only other observation I have about this is I think a massively successful or extremely intense word of mouth online and on social media often feels indistinguishable from extremely intense, word of mouth on social media for an unsuccessful movie. Like for a movie like Barbie, it also looks the same as an unsuccessful movie. That's one of the reasons why I put it so low, is because we've seen tons of movies be like, oh my God, this movie's going to be freaking huge.
I'll give you an example. Plane.
Snakes on a Plane. Great example. Scott Pilgrim versus the World, another example. I'll give you a recent example that's a little bit sadder. Bottoms. That movie looked like it was going to be huge. Opened wider this weekend, didn't do very well. Didn't open big. And so there's a lot of movies where you're like, oh my gosh, the buzz is white hot for this. And then it turns out not to be the case. This was one of the times where it turned out to be the case that it actually was white hot. So, but anyway, at the end of the day, these are all just excuses, just pitiful defenses. We all messed this up. No one called this. No one came even close to calling this. And so we deserve to eat crow for this one. Yeah, so Barbie
looks like 3 of us had 8. Devindra had 9, and Jeffrey dark horse.
That's correct. So
which means I theoretically it could have been 1 like that. I was the only one. I was the only one that left the option open that it
Jeff
could be 1.
Jeff is the only one that contemplated that's the possibility. Indeed.
To be honest with you, it like as a game, it is not a bad play to put a movie like that in the dark horse because Barbie could have been anywhere on that map, and Jeff knew that it was going to be it could be there somewhere, but I don't know, none of us.
No, but that's probably 2 points. That's
right.
It cost me 2 points.
It cost me 2 points.
Yeah.
Anywhere on the map in your top 10 gets you 3 points. So it's not.
I do also. I don't like. Well, this is a complete. I do not want to get into a whole rat hole on this, but I do wonder, Jeff, if you had watched the entire trailer, if that would have made a difference for you. Because, in the context of the entire trailer, the masturbation joke is 3 seconds of a whole trailer, and I wonder, you were so fixated on that. I'm just curious, if you have any thoughts on that. But
it's certainly possible. I mean, I like I said, that's a whole other argument that everybody is very keen
I'm looking forward to the overcorrection. Conan O'Brien's masturbating bear, number 1 next to
All right. Well, that's number 1. Barbie, $612 million, and we all missed it. Let's take a quick break for a sponsor. We'll be back with more Summer Movie Wager Countdown right after this. Number 2 at the box office was Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse at $381 million. And only one of us dead hit Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse at number 2 of this year. And that person is Peter Serretta. Here is what he said at the time.
The number 2 for me is, and I think I'm probably going to be the lone person here on this one, is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Wow.
Okay. Wow.
Okay.
Right.
Wow.
Bold.
Now, the first movie, if I usually go on comps,
yes, you do.
I said, how does Jeff put together his list? The way I put together my list is I look at the previous film, and the previous movie in this it only did 190, so it would not get to number 2. This, Spider-Verse would not get to number 2 with that. But since then, we've had No Way Home, which was this huge movie. I mean, 814 million, right? It's a huge movie. We've had that Spider-Man video game. We've had, I just think Spider-Man, people found this on DVD, or I guess not DVD, VOD. I feel like this sequel is going to have a much bigger audience than that first movie. I think it has potential of doing over 300 million, maybe 350.
Could not have been righter, Peter.
Perfect.
Dead on, Peter. I mean, just props where it's due. You're the only one that saw it coming. And honestly, for a time, for the first half of the summer, Spider-Verse was number 1 at the box office. And so I was thinking that actually benefits us all because that means Peter has it one off from where it actually is. Now, lest you think I'm only going to play clips in which I agonized about the correct decision, here is me completely biffing it about Spider-Verse. Devindra also putting Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse above The Little Mermaid. I just think that is going to be the the flaw. What is the critical flaw?
The flaw. I don't know.
What's the word I'm looking for? That's like the thing that makes the whole house tumble. Like,
I don't want. It would be nice if all of our lists weren't like exactly the same. So
yes. Oh, well, thank you for
choices were made.
Thank you for switching it up and giving us some variety, Devindra. But that is Devindra's number 4, The Little Mermaid.
This is one of those things where obviously I think Barbie was awesome and it's great that it was number 1. This is one of those movies though that we all probably hoped was going to be really good, and that it was, and that it did so well is a nice pat on the back, because there's so many movies during every summer, this summer as well, where you were really highly anticipating it and it just kind of crapped the bed. But Spider-Verse did not, and I really appreciate that. Love it. That it did number 2 and that people got good points on it. I'm fine with blowing this one, because the end result historically will be we have a great movie to enjoy.
This is one where I wish I listened to my heart a little more too. Like it was my number 1 as I was developing the list for a very long time, and then eventually shifted down to 2. And then something I thought Indiana Jones would do better. Guys, everybody loves Indiana Jones. Who doesn't love Indiana Jones? Apparently nobody, or not very few people.
Only old people.
Yes.
Yeah. This was the slot where many of us put Indiana Jones, right? Devindra, Jeff, me, and Jermaine all put Indiana Jones 5 at number 2.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out, this is another thing we should have mentioned early on. This was the summer where we realized people don't really want to see old people do stunts anymore. They don't really.
Top Gun. So I don't know.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, we were coming off of Top Gun.
Yeah.
I thought this might be the Top Gun of this year, as people returning to this beloved franchise.
And that's what we all thought. We all thought like this was gonna be the Top Gun of the year.
It's funny. I don't know. I think, absolutely. And I mean, I think we all obviously grew up with Indiana Jones in a way that a lot of the more general movie audiences didn't. But also, and we're not at Indiana Jones yet, but I think I noticed early on when that movie came out, and I liked the movie a lot, was that I was talking to a Disney person. They're like, this one's tough because no one in the movie's on social media. So like, it's really been like pulling teeth to get Harrison Ford or Phoebe Waller-Bridge or anybody to do anything. And so they're like, we were right. And so I think we talked about Barbenheimer being such a big thing online, and Indiana Jones not doing that. And like, wow, the social media marketing, maybe that played a big role.
Well, to be fair, to be fair, like when Barbenheimer happened, the strike was going on, so there was there had been lead up to that point.
Well, both studios had done the junkets.
They did their
before.
press.
Yeah.
But
I think that the phenomenon of Barbie is not dissimilar to what we assumed the phenomenon of Indiana Jones would be. It's not dissimilar to the phenomenon of Top Gun, right? It's just there is still a huge nostalgia factor, a huge returning to something that is very comfortable and represents this shared cultural moment. I think that's kind of what happened with Top Gun in a large sense. And Top Gun was coming out of the COVID years where everybody was huddled, and we wanted this sort of lofty, aspirational kind of jingoistic return to American ideal. And I think that Barbie, in its own way, is that too. Like, it is this return to this kind of magical ideal of youth. And it happened to be a excellent movie that did a lot of really interesting things, very funny and fun. But I think that the galvanizing force that we thought was going to work for Indiana Jones, which is the same thing, really was in play for Barbie as well.
And Barbie it's a bit of a throwback in terms of movies done on sound stages, a movie with major musical sequences. Like, it feels like a familiar thing, like old movies used to be, except a lot more progressive,
But I want to say, in terms of Spider-Verse, like, everybody here except for Devindra was like, I don't want to say like laughing at me, but like, whoa. Like,
totally.
there was
no one thought you were right about that.
I said,
there was one. You acknowledged what we thought. You acknowledged in that clip the premise that we all were operating on, which is like, it's not going to outperform its predecessor that much.
Right. But instead, it made over $150 million more than its predecessor. So, and also, I don't know if we've mentioned this yet, but like, the movie was awesome, right? Like, it was an amazing movie, one of our best movies of the summer, right? Yeah. So, it's, as you said, Jermaine, always great when like a really good movie does really well. Peter Sciretta, this is your kind of Jermaine's Top Gun Maverick pick of this year, right? Like this is your
but not as good. I mean, the Top Gun pick.
He nailed it.
Unlike Top Gun, I got it dead on.
Yeah, you actually didn't get Top Gun dead on.
I didn't. So. And if I had, I know, of course. Dead on. The scoreboard wins, but I still feel like we didn't give Peter as much crap as I got last year.
That's
true. That's true.
Do you think that was because of Top Gun? Because I was expecting you guys to pile on. You guys did a little bit of crap, but it wasn't like.
Well, it's not Top Gun Maverick. Like no one, like
nobody.
That's even more ridiculous. Like, hey, if you told me at the beginning of summer, Spider-Man Across Spider-Verse got $150 million more, I'd be like, oh, that must be a really good movie. If you told me Top Gun Maverick's gonna make $700 million plus, I'd be like. I'm sorry. I think
has hell frozen over.
You're from a different dimension, sir.
Yeah, I think we all wanted Spider-Verse to be really good, and I was the only kid who saw Top Gun probably when it came out in 1986. So like, I was the one who really wanted. All right, I meant you saw it. All right, thank you.
Jeff was there,
and he didn't put it there.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say. So at the end of the day, though, we're all now living in a post Top Gun Maverick world where like anything that we think could be one of the worst performing, and I said this, I made this observation in the podcast. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny performed this year how we thought Top Gun would perform last year.
Yes,
right?
I think I put Top Gun at number 7 last year.
Yeah. So Jeff, go ahead. Yeah.
The other big takeaway from me, and you guys have kind of danced around this a little bit too, but I just want to put a finer point on it, is how I think I mentioned this too before, is that I got to sort of be less cynical because the early years of doing the summer movie wager, I think the years that I won, it was because I was super cynical about the audience and, putting Transformers movies really high and stuff like that. And looking at this list, the top 4 movies of the summer are all, in my opinion, phenomenal movies, just excellent movies that I would rate very, very highly in the entire year. And the fact that we've gotten to that point where we have to get all the way down to 5 to get to a movie where I thought that wasn't, very good, was just sort of a popcorn, like crass money grab. And in previous summers, it felt like the top movies were all crass money grabs that weren't very good. And I just love the fact that we've gotten to this place where the audiences are rewarding quality.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Jeff.
Great point.
All right. So shall we move on to number 3? Number 3, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which made $358 million domestic. Earlier this summer, we all put Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 as number 1. Here's what I said when that happened. Here's the thing. Here, I got the sinking feeling.
Has it ever?
In my stomach when everyone started saying Guardians, because the last time we all chose a movie as number 1 was last year when everyone on this show picked Jurassic World Dominion as number 1, and every single one of us was wrong.
Last year was an anomaly. Well, strange time.
Well, 2019, did we all pick Avengers and we were all right? Maybe. So
yeah.
But when there's consensus, it usually means we're all dumb.
Yeah, Jeff, you called that, Jeff. When there's consensus, it usually means we're all dumb. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, we all picked it as number 1. It ended up number 3. This was an enjoyable film. I thought this is a pretty fun.
Kind of rough for some people. I think people talked about like that. Maybe that hurt the rewatchability is just how rough that movie was at times when it came to animal cruelty. Yeah,
I honestly, it performed way better. Than I thought it would, given that it did have pretty brutal scenes in it. But I at the end of the day, though, this is one of Marvel's best performing movies of the year. How many? Quantumania was the other one. Were there any others? And then Marvel's coming up.
Marvel's is coming.
So
I think this performed about where we all probably figured it, like 358 or something like that. Right?
Yeah.
So like you're like, oh yeah, that's good enough for number 1, But then we have an incredible Spider-Man movie, and then this cultural phenomenon, So like, I think we probably did okay here, but okay for us is insanely good.
Okay for us is absolutely terrible by the standards of any objective measure. So, but yeah, this also, Jeff, we've talked about how like it feels like the superhero genre is in trouble, on the podcast, and I do wonder if this might be one of like, who knows? Maybe in like 3 years from now, Kang Dynasty is going to come out and like blow the doors off of everything, and we're going to be like, "Wow, I can't believe we ever doubted Kevin Feige." But to me, I wonder, is this the last gasp of the Marvel, cinematic universe? Like, is this the last Marvel movie that's going to do really well? Then the Marvels is going to come out in 3 months and prove me wrong. But like, but the superhero business has been like Shazam 2, Blue Beetle, The Flash. Those are all DC movies I know.
It's a rough year.
Quantumania. It's been a rough year for superhero films, other than Guardians 3. So I am curious, like, is Guardians 3 the last gasp? Or
Deadpool 3 is going to be the last gasp? And I think
Aquaman, we got the teaser, or the hint that a teaser's coming for Aquaman 2. That movie exists.
Aquaman 2 is a movie for which there has been no marketing. And the other night at the football game, they bought a teaser for the trailer to come out.
Teaser for the teaser. Dave.
Oh, yeah, probably because they're still cutting the teasers, I guess. So anyway, so Guardians of the Galaxy Vol. 3, a really rare high point in superhero films for the year, and a movie I think we all enjoyed. So
I also think that movie would have done a lot better if it came out a few years earlier because of the superhero fatigue, number one, but also like I think it became a thing like Star Trek where they waited too many years in between the sequels. Like you kind of like can't leave that many years in between.
That's a long story though, with James Gunn, social media, and then the Suicide Squad, and then DC. But I think you are right. If this had come out, I think it's supposed to come out before, much sooner after Endgame. Yeah, I think you're probably right. It would have done better. But I think, at this point, it probably did. Marvel's probably very happy with it. Is my guess.
Yeah, 358 million is nothing to sneeze at. I do want to say, to just to head off the emails that we're going to get. We literally were talking about how, superhero movies didn't do great just after talking about Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse being number 2.
Yeah, fair enough. And also live action superhero.
Live action. Because I was also going to say
2 out of the top 3 are superhero movies.
That's true. Great point, Jeff. Great point. Thank you for saving me from the emails. I appreciate that.
I would also say Ninja Turtles counts as superheroes, right?
Yes.
And it didn't get into the top 10, but I feel like if that movie came earlier in the summer and was pumped up a little more, like that was a great movie. I think it had more legs to go. Yeah.
What's great about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Mutant Mayhem, aside from being a great movie, is also my understanding relatively low budget. Closer to 100 million than the 200 plus of Spider-Verse, the 200 plus of Elemental. So that movie's probably going to be a financial success. All right, now we get to number 4, and that is Oppenheimer. So Oppenheimer made $310 million. What's amazing about Oppenheimer, too, is this is a movie that is performing extremely well worldwide. I think it's almost going to crack 900 million, could be on track to $1 billion. This is what Devindra Hardawar said about Oppenheimer when he put it the lowest out of anyone at number 10 in early summer 2023.
My number 10 is the story of J. Robert Oppenheimer. I do think Nolan still has a pull among a certain type of group. There's just so many things working against this movie. Like, it is so long. The trailers look cool, but it also seems very, very dour because of what this movie is actually about. So this is not a summer fun romp. But I do think a lot of people will be like, well, it's Christopher Nolan. I gotta see what Christopher Nolan is doing. So I think that will be enough to get it to number 10. That's my reasoning there. And that's why I didn't put Transformers or anything else here.
I do think that it's remarkable that 4 out of the 5 of us, aka the smart ones, all put Barbie as higher than Oppenheimer. So we'll see if that plays out, or if it will be the 1 out of 5.
It is the battle of the summer. It is the weekend battle of the summer.
Yeah. I will eat further crow later on. But I mean, and Devindra, to be fair, none of us called it being this high. I just played your clip because it was kind of representative of how many of us felt about this, right?
I still kind of feel that way about that movie. Like, I'm shocked it did so well because I've talked to people who went and saw it multiple times in IMAX, and I thought it was perfectly fine the first time, and I didn't have any pull to go back. So I'm glad some people are finding it, more worthwhile.
I think that Barbenheimer thing really helped it, because when I saw and I did the Barbenheimer double feature, when I saw it at Century City, coming out of it and just seeing all these people in pink looking like they had been through a world war coming out of that movie, being I don't know, it was just so funny.
I agree that the Barbenheimer is a big part. I am not underselling that at all. Huge contributing factor. I also think, putting aside the Barbenheimer of it all, they were able to make this movie into an event.
They really were.
I told you guys on the air, I went to go see Oppenheimer twice. I went to see it at a press screening, and then I went to go see it at a public IMAX screening. when I had gone to see it at the public IMAX screening, it was, I think, something along the lines of the 12th screening in a row that was 100% sold out. They were on their way to like 20, 25 screenings, 100% sold out. The theater I went to was the highest grossing theater for Oppenheimer that wasn't a part of a chain in the country, apparently. And that does not happen just from Barbenheimer. That happens because people think this is a thing we have to travel to go see it in IMAX. This is a thing we have to, we have to witness movie history. It took on that era, that aura of importance, I think, in our society.
I don't know how they managed that because, this movie doesn't have, I mean, I said this in our review and you guys can disagree, but I don't think it has like IMAX caliber sequences necessarily, right? It's not the large format. People were just clamoring to see it in that large format. And it's really a lot of faces. It's a lot of people's faces. And I think there's something really cool about that audiences responded. And, like I told the anecdote on the show that our nanny, the lady that takes care of my kids, she and her husband flew to Arizona to see it in true IMAX. Like there is this perception that took hold that you needed to see this on a real IMAX screen.
Right.
And I think that's amazing. And I wonder if that will incentivize other filmmakers to use the format more or other studios to fund movies being made in IMAX.
But Nolan has been doing this since The Dark Knight. I mean, which is the thing. I mean, like Tenet aside, because of COVID and everything, that this movie I think probably had more IMAX footage than most of his other movies, but pretty much all of his movies since then have had this 70 mil IMAX release, also the 70 millimeter release. He's done this every single time. So I think maybe it's a combination of it is an unexpected IMAX movie, like you said, Jeff, like an Inception or an Interstellar feels like Inception wasn't, but Interstellar maybe feels like a movie that, okay, that makes sense. It's a big space movie. Where you're like, wait, I want to see why does this movie in IMAX? Maybe that was part of it. But also the Barbenheimer of it, I think it was also like a status symbol to see Barbenheimer, but also to see Oppenheimer in that 70 mil IMAX.
I will speculate as to the answer to that question. This is pure conjecture, but I think there is just conceptually a marriage between the biggest format available and the biggest bomb that has ever been constructed by man. Like there's something that just clicks of like, there's a grandiosity of the fact that this man.
We didn't talk about the Flash yet. Sorry. Had to
Okay. But yeah, Jeff, I think it's a great point. I will say, I agree with half of what you're saying, which is the half where you're like, for IMAX, there's nothing about this. Like, you got to see the truck flip over in The Dark Knight.
Right.
You got to see when Batman lights the bridge on fire in The Dark Knight Rises or whatever it is.
Right.
I think I'm the only one among the three main co-hosts that have seen Oppenheimer in full format IMAX. And I will tell you, like, despite the fact that there's no like massive action scenes, it is really special experience.
It's
like,
incredible.
Not just the faces, but like there's a bunch of stuff that's not faces. There are test explosions, but there's also like the movie's very subjective. There's like, oh, here's like a bunch of sparkles swirling in space, and we're showing you what time. Like that feels different in IMAX. So I think you are a little bit I agree with you about like there's nothing major to sell it, but I think you're a little bit underselling how special the experience is in IMAX because it is distinct and I think worth turning out for compared to the regular experience. So
that's fair. Yeah.
Okay. Any other thoughts on Oppenheimer? I think we all were pretty clear-eyed. Like this is the thing that kills me, guys. The thing that kills me is I think if we had all actually watched all the movies in advance, I don't know that our list would have been that different.
Agreed.
That's the thing that kills me is like, I think we all kind of knew what these movies would be. And we all decided, based on that, like what the taste of the American people might be.
I think we would have had Indy a little bit
I would have definitely
Indy would be lower.
Personally.
Indy would be lower. Spider-Man would be higher for me.
Yeah. Spider-Verse
Barbie
would
be higher.
Barbie might be higher. But that's
my
like,
placement of Indy at number 2 was based on an assumption and maybe probably like hope that it was going to actually be fantastic, and I thought it was just okay and just good, but not fantastic.
Yeah.
Fair enough. All right. Well, that's Oppenheimer, $310 million. It is the number 4 film of the year. Let's take another break for a sponsor. We'll be back with more Summer Movie Wager right after this. Number 5, The Little Mermaid made $298 million. My sense is that this was fine in terms of the performance of this movie. I think people were thinking this movie would do better. Many of us placed it at number 3 or 4. And I think Disney was hoping that this movie would do a little bit better as well. It did not do that well internationally. It did pretty good domestically. But yeah, I think we mostly got this one pretty good, right?
I think Jermaine's earlier comment is really astute in that, like, Little Mermaid and Guardians both did pretty much exactly what I thought they would do. I just didn't think that would put them at 3 and 5.
Yeah.
Right. We just didn't know there would be these $600 million juggernaut, owning everybody.
And that some of the other movies would do way worse than we thought.
Yeah. Right. And to be fair, Devendra got this pretty close. He was like one off,
almost.
Right?
Yeah, you got it just at number 4. Yeah. So Devendra did pretty good on this. But The Little Mermaid, what more needs to be said about it? That hasn't been said about the Little Mermaid original movie, literally.
I think what came down to, right, is that, like, one thing we missed, I think, what would say is that The Little Mermaid was, growing up such a popular movie for kids of that generation, and still to this day, that it was kind of the last of the live action movies to happen. Probably because technically it was such a challenge. That Lion King came out first. That seems like that would be more of a challenge, but it was not. And that was like a huge hit. I think that maybe we didn't think about, like, our audience is going to buy into this underwater, like, technology and the viewing of it. And I think maybe we kind of overestimated, like, how well that was going to work on screen, because I didn't think it worked that well. It wasn't terrible. Like Jeff said earlier, it's like just okay. It's the songs and that's it. So I think that was the thing. I think it coming at the tail end of this live action Disney thing was something that we kind of maybe didn't key into.
Well, that's the thing. When I see the trailer for Lion King, it looks phenomenal. It looks like, oh my God, this is going to be incredible. Like, it looks better than the trailer. I'm talking not the movie, but the trailer. The trailer looks like it's going to be better than the original movie. When I look at the trailer of Little Mermaid, it looks ugly and dark and like, I don't know. It doesn't look anywhere close like it has any potential to be better.
And yet, $298 million domestically.
That's just power of Disney.
But not 598, which is what they probably thought.
I will submit that the song "The Scuttlebutt" took $200 million off this film's domestic top line.
No, it's made $200 million of me streaming it, baby. Let's do it.
I think the look of the movie.
That song took 2 years off my life. Okay, go ahead.
When people think of Little Mermaid, they think of bright colors, lots of things happening under the sea. I think the look of the movie itself took a big chunk of this money out of the box office.
And birds rapping is obviously.
Yeah, and birds rapping.
Yes, birds rapping. That said, Halle
questionable
Bailey,
Jamaican accents.
Halle Bailey, amazing in this film, and an incredible rendition of part of this world, and that part.
It's not her fault. It's not her fault.
Yeah, exactly. That part I will, I'm going to listen to that. That probably is going to be the version that I listen to, the version of the song that I listen to. So anyway, go ahead.
That's a quick anecdote. Yesterday, of all days, yesterday was the start of the NFL season. So I was watching football, and my wife said, "You know what? I'm going to have a little mommy-daughter date with our daughter, and we're going to watch a movie." And she's like, "Let's watch Little Mermaid." She's never seen it. Let's watch Little Mermaid. No desire to watch the live-action version. No desire.
Like,
it's available.
Why was your daughter presented the choice?
No. My daughter wasn't involved in the choice.
Oh, you're saying your wife had no desire. Yeah.
Yes, my wife was like, "I want to watch the original version."
It's really for her,
Yeah, and she, so she had no desire. I mean, they're both. The giant banner ad on Disney Plus is the live action version. She's like, I will search for the original,
the real one.
All right. That's The Little Mermaid, number 5, $298 million domestic. Most of us chose it as number 3. Devendra chose it as number 4. He got it pretty close. All right. Number 6 at the summer domestic box office this year, Sound of Freedom with $181 million.
Where did everybody put this one on their list?
Yeah, we nailed it. So that's always good.
I've got a lot of thoughts about this movie. Yeah, I've got a lot of thoughts about this movie, guys. But there's like a sniper rifle being trained on me, so I'm just gonna.
I think I will say a couple of quick observations about this movie. Number one. This was a movie that used a technique of allowing people to pay it forward. Like, hey, if you think this movie is important, you can scan this QR code. You can pay for the next person's ticket to this movie. it's surprising that no one has really done that en masse before, and I expect that we'll see that more in the future. But B, it does show that a hit can come from anywhere. Like, this is not a movie any of us saw coming, not a movie we had on any of our top 10 lists or Dark Horse, and it is a movie that was very successful.
I wouldn't it have been amazing if somebody like put this on their list? Like, in fact, I wish
that would have been the long shot.
I wish that that Dave, that you had manufactured a clip. You're like, and it was like you had recorded a clip of you going, "Sound of Freedom is probably going to be on my." That would have been amazing.
My God.
We actually probably should have done that just to be safe,
just
in case anybody was like,
edit that in right now.
Just do it.
Just do it. We were always rooting for this movie, guys. Don't worry about us. We're good.
All right. Well, that's Sound of Freedom, $181 million. We didn't see this movie coming, and I think very few people in the industry did. So moving on to number 7, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, $174 million domestic. This is a sad one because this is basically a bomb. This movie cost, people called it around $290 million production cost for this film. And this is a bomb. I think, I don't know if this all, Scott Mendelson, box office prognosticator or box office analyst and colleague, the way he put it was, what people want to see is stuff they're familiar with given a fresh take. So Spider-Verse falls into that category. Barbie falls into that category. And I think one could argue that stuff like Indiana Jones, Mission Impossible, The Flash, Fast 10 falls into the category of stuff we've already seen before. Stuff we've already seen, stuff we're familiar with, given an old, familiar take.
He's probably also thinking of like Jurassic World and Force Awakens, where they're kind of a legacy sequel. It's what we want, but in a new take. I think he's probably also thinking about that.
Perhaps, yeah. I mean, well, I think
this is not that. This is not that.
Yeah, or maybe it's attempting to be that, but in any case,
Indiana
Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Did anyone love this? Peter, were you a big fan of this movie?
No, I walked out of the world premiere being like, it was okay. I don't hate it, but like it just it was. I was just disappointed.
Wow,
I really liked it a lot, but like not like I like the first 3 Indiana Jones movies, obviously, and I think
the only other ones that exist. Yeah,
right, exactly.
I like that better than Crystal Skull.
The worst thing about Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny is it made me reconsider how well made certain parts of Kingdom of the Crystal Skull were.
First hour of that movie is actually, if you watch it, like, this is going to be great. And then it's not.
I would argue there's some really great sequences in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull that look better than what is in Dial of Destiny. But
obviously this isn't, you guys did your review and that's a whole other thing, but I think, ultimately, maybe for us in terms of putting it with the box office, like we, whether you like it or not, are kind of the audience for it. People of a certain age who kind of grew up with Indiana Jones. Like, I don't know if I was like, I'm not a father. I know some of you guys are fathers. Like, when would you show your kid Indiana Jones? It's like, it feels like it would come down a little bit later, not for any particular reason, just because there's so much great stuff out there that you might want to expose them to first. Like, so I think Indiana Jones is one of these cultural things that if you weren't on the wave on the way up, maybe you didn't care about it crashing down here. But I mean, literally, if you're watching on video, I have a whole Indiana Jones shelf above me. Like, I was in the bag for it. I really enjoyed it. I think obviously it does things that maybe we didn't expect or didn't do it as well. But to see it like do this amount of money it almost like there's a personal pain on it because like, damn, I love the franchise. I love those guys. That stinks.
I really like this one as well. It's just sad to see like how badly this did. Although I guess there were stories that sort of had legs, but it was like over a long term, it wasn't enough. So those early reviews killed it. It's awful.
And to be
Cannes
fair,
thing was very bad. Yes,
we recorded our summer movie wager episode before the Cannes stink was on it, right?
But it's a great point you bring up, Jermaine. Of like, I think Indiana Jones feels inessential in our modern culture in a way that like Star Wars and Barbie and Spider-Man.
I would say the same about Top Gun. So I don't know.
That's right. Exactly.
I don't know.
But there's a difference in the quality. That's what I think, just like Jeff said earlier. The quality on this list is very good this summer. Yeah.
Sure.
I agree. I would argue Top Gun is a fluke, but everything else is, like he does feel inessential in our modern day society. It's not like, oh, this is a cultural touchstone all the kids need to see. Maybe we thought it was, and that's why we all put it at number 2.
And the movie was about that, which was kind of interesting. And that's, again, also hurt.
Well, I'll just reiterate that, like, I had no early buzz information when we were making this, and I really thought/hoped that Mangold was going to knock this out of the park.
Yeah,
I thought this was actually going to be the Top Gun phenomenon because of the quality. I thought, oh my gosh, people are going to go see this and be like, I have to take my kids, I have to take my friends. We all got to go see the thing that made Indiana Jones great in the first place. And maybe that was a Pollyanna view of mine, but that's why I put it so high. I was like, you know what?
Yeah.
I think, and I actually didn't expect anybody else to put it as high as I did. And it was funny that so many of us put it at number 2, but I really thought, this is going to be that shocking surprise, which is what Barbie turned out to be. But I felt like Indiana Jones was going to be the surprise of the summer of how great a movie it was going to be and how much people were going to love it. And I'm the first to admit it's not a great movie. I thought it was fine. I agree with Peter. I thought it was
that would have been nice.
Serviceable,
I got a little bit emotional just now because it's like, that would have been great if we got an amazing Indiana Jones film that kind of sent this character off into the sunset. Oh wait, we already got that movie.
Did that.
Okay, anyway.
Yeah. By the way, everybody had this as number 2 except for me, which I put it at number 4 because I just had a feeling that it's just like Harrison being older, it was going to attract an older crowd, and like it just wasn't going to attract the new generation of moviegoers. And
wow, Peter, you got something right. Big surprise. Let's hear all about it.
I was way wrong too, though. I was like way off. I was,
Yeah, we all got the same number of points from Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. We all got 3 points from it. So okay,
it needed. What you're saying, Peter, is it needed Shia LaBeouf.
Where were the adventures of Mutt Williams I was promised? Guys, that's my question. Watching that movie. Okay.
Well, you ended up hearing, and it was
yeah.
He died.
No spoilers. No spoilers, guys. Okay. Number 8. Okay, this one was a surprise, I think, for every single one of us except for one person who put it dead on at number 8. That's Devindra Hardawar. Here's a clip.
This is where I put Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1. I think this movie, it'll do pretty well. And I'm saying, I think all these movies, like but the box office floors we're expecting for these numbers will be higher than previous summers. So I do think it's going to be, audiences seem super thirsty. I think this seems about right for where this movie is. I wish, I wish it was higher up on this list. I wish this franchise was getting more love from general audiences. But it's kind of not. It has been this weird thing for action fans and for people the more discerning action movie fans, and I don't think this movie will change that, but it sure looks fun and I hope it does well. Yeah.
Nice call, Devindra Hardawar.
Nailed it.
10 points off of that one. And I do think this one was a surprise to many of us, right? I think we all thought it would do about as well as Mission Impossible Fallout, which made $220 million domestic in 2018. Instead, it made around $50 million less than that. And
what do we think? I mean, did it get overshadowed by the Barbenheimer thing of it, or is it the reviews weren't good enough? The reviews are great.
It's not as good as Fallout.
Yeah, I would argue
it's not.
I would argue it's a worse film.
I like Fallout better. I think that Part 1 did not help. Like, if it just called Dead Reckoning, I think you'd give it $30 extra million because people were like, oh, let's see the new Mission Impossible. And then they'd be mad. Like, Spider-Verse had Part 2 and Part 1 in its title originally. They took that out. And I think probably benefited greatly from it. It's the exact same ending. Fast 10, same thing. Fast 10 is not called Fast 10 Part 1. It's the exact same cliffhanger idea. Those are two reasons.
Part 1 screams, you can wait until Part 2 comes up before you check
absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
It is notable that it is the third film that came out this summer, or one of 3 films that came out this summer, to end mid-film, in my opinion. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a reason why Across the Spider-Verse changed its title from being Part 1.
Right.
So
I would argue that of the 3 films, so the other 2 films, just FYI, so I guess I don't even consider this a spoiler, but minor spoiler for the other 2 movies. Those other 2 films were Across the Spider-Verse and also Fast 10, both of which ended on a big cliffhanger.
I would throw Dune in there, even though it wasn't a summer movie. I would throw Dune in there.
Well, it came out last year.
Yeah, no, agreed. I completely agree with you, Jeff. of those three, Mission Impossible, ironically, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 feels like the most complete of a film. I would argue. Like,
I agree about that.
I agree.
The one that has the Part 1 moniker, that's the one that feels like it's a complete film. It's the one where the Part 1 feels like the least necessary, honestly.
I do. I still think Spider-Verse is more successful as an entire film, like does a better setup for that plot, whereas this one's like, you got a big AI villain out there. Maybe something's going to happen.
Yeah.
I'll also say, what do we think is the best cliffhanger of the summer? Because I would posit that Oppenheimer kind of ends on a cliffhanger, and that is like,
oh, I can't wait for Oppenheimer
We're doomed!
2.
Oh yeah, is humanity doomed?
Are we doomed?
That's a question.
Yes,
You know
That's
what?
a good question. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tune into the news next week. Yeah.
But I was thinking that like the whole Top Gun Maverick was gonna like kind of give this
Elevate
like
it.
a little bit of a.
You're right. We thought we would get a Top Gun Maverick bump from
to pull a Dave Chen. I originally had Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning around. I think I had it at 7, and I moved it up because I was like, "Oh, Top Gun! I don't want to be Tom Cruise again this summer."
Yeah,
and I was seduced by the long tail of Top Gun, and I thought, but my instinct was like, these are two distinct things, and I should have gone with my gut. But
well,
next year will be the gut year.
The gut
next
year
year will be the gut year, indeed. It'll be like the
next year,
broadcast of WrestleMania.
If there's any movies next year, at this point, we're not making movies.
Yeah.
I do wonder if there were more IMAX screenings available for Mission Impossible, because it was like 2 weeks.
It was 1 week.
1 week.
It got 1 week.
Yeah,
but
like,
the movie that feels like it is built for that format. I want to see that.
I'm going to tell you, I saw Dead Reckoning twice. One time in IMAX, and the IMAX was only okay. Like
it didn't. I really thought they were gonna. It didn't have the.
There was nothing
Fallout.
shot for IMAX. Yeah, like Fallout had sequences shot in IMAX.
Yeah,
Dead Reckoning did not.
It was so
like,
disappointing. I literally went to a completely different screening to see it in IMAX, and I feel like it did not.
Exactly. I was
That's
like, this is very similar to the last experience I had.
Was that a missed opportunity then? Because it does seem like audiences are hungry for these.
Yes.
Give me Tom Cruise doing this, but also on the biggest damn camera in the world.
I think.
What can't you get in your home? And that's IMAX, right?
Yeah.
I'm hoping that we see more IMAX format films based on Oppenheimer's success, but who knows?
It's so expensive. It's like prohibitively
The painful part, Jeff, is there's only, I think, on the order of 19 full frame IMAX screens in the country right now. It's just so difficult to see. So,
do you think there's ever going to be a day where IMAX will build a new IMAX theater?
They don't need to.
I hope they do, Peter. I hope
they get by in the name alone. The FOMAX, like you said, there's only 19 real ones, maybe, or whatever the number is. And then
what I mean, like a film IMAX theater.
No,
like
I know what you're saying.
Yeah,
I'm saying, but they get by money wise on people going to see an IMAX at the AMC that is not the real IMAX.
Limax.
Yeah, Limax.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
It is notable that like Oppenheimer was originally supposed to get 3 weeks in IMAX screens. And I believe that run was eventually extended to 5, if not 6 weeks.
It was very long.
Blue Beetle took it off. Is the only thing.
Blue Beetle eventually took it off, but like, if you're a theater owner, you got to imagine you're packing in people like sold out screenings every time, and then it's like we got to give this up for Blue Beetle, which obviously didn't do that well. So
I had trouble. Like I was looking at tickets at the Mall of Georgia, which is a big full IMAX theater, and it was sold out for weeks. Even week 5, like it was hard to get a ticket at a 10:30 a.m. screening. So
incredible.
Yeah, insane.
It's rare to be able to experience this phenomenon in one's life, and I'm honestly grateful that we all got to experience the Barbenheimer phenomenon, even as film lovers. So, okay. So that's Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1. I gotta say these movies were extremely expensive. Like Dead Reckoning Part 1 was one of the most expensive movies ever made. I am really curious what this means for Dead Reckoning Part 2, if it's still going to be made at the same level of budget, if Tom Cruise is going to lose any juice as a result. Because basically Tom Cruise got whatever he wanted for Dead Reckoning Part 1,
but it was
other
also
than the IMAX screens. Yeah.
They started filming this in like mid 2020 and paid everybody the entire time. So like the $400 million budget is probably more like 200, but then they had to pay everybody.
But for they shut down like 5-6 times because of COVID. Right. So I hope we get a good ending for this franchise. And honestly, personally, I hope it's a better film than Dead Reckoning Part 1. Okay. Let's take a quick break for one last sponsor, and we'll be right back with more right after this. All right, number 9, Transformers: Rise of the Beasts.
Best cliffhanger of the summer answer is right here, baby.
I agree. 100%. It's up there.
That's
it's
true.
Up there. So
are the Autobots going to roll out? You'll have to watch 6 more movies to find out.
So Jeff, me, and Jermaine all put Transformers: Rise of the Beast at number 10. That's almost dead hitting it because it was number 9. And yeah, I mean, this did about as well as we expected. It looks like Devindra and Peter didn't even put this in the top 10.
Yeah, they were
had no hope for it.
We had it on our dark horses.
I liked it. I liked the movie.
Dark horses.
Just fine. Yeah.
And what more is to be said? I think this movie opened okay, had surprising legs for a Transformers movie. Ended up legging it out to 157.
The beasts have 4 legs.
That's right.
Robots usually only have 2.
Yeah, I think this is a weird one because it's like the 6th or 7th movie in the franchise, right? And like I think a lot of people think the last one, which was Bumblebee, was the best one, but it didn't do anything because people were so hurt by those last couple that they all turned out to 4 and 5. And so I think this might be them winning people back, right? So I think a number 9 here is it seems like we said most of us got pretty close, even with the dark horses. And I hope that we get to see another Stephen Caple Transformers, and I hope we get to see, like I said, that cliffhanger kind of explored more, because I think that could be really exciting and fun for audiences.
The word of mouth was really strong.
Yeah.
I think even watching trailers for this, I didn't know this was a 90s movie. And I think once people started hearing about that, like the people who grew up in the 90s, like, this is for, old head Transformers, themes.
Yeah, it had a great tone.
Also had like a cast of color like that. I think that really generated audiences that would typically ignore another Michael Bay Transformers movie. So yeah. I enjoyed this movie.
Movie opened with 61 million, which people thought, oh, that's kind of weak. But then, it ended up having a 2.5 multiplier, getting all the way to 157 domestic. It must have had decent word of mouth. Obviously, a really surprising ending, which we're not going to spoil here on this podcast. But it did just fine. I think Devindra and Peter, you guys probably predicted it might do almost as good as top 10. I mean, you put it in your dark horses, so like
I thought movies
got pretty close to this one.
Yeah, I thought movies like Fast 10 and The Flash were gonna make the top 10, which would have pushed it out. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Could imagine going back to the beginning of the summer saying Transformers: Rise of the Beast gonna beat Fast 10, gonna beat The Flash, right? Like nonsense, outrageous, right? But that's what ended up happening. And finally, number 10, a movie that Peter Serretta hit dead on when he put it at number 10, and by saying the following earlier in 2023.
No. I originally had Transformers: Rise of the Beast number 10. And by original, I mean yesterday. Like, I haven't changed the list. But I was like, what, this movie, I don't know. Like, are people excited for this? They saw Bumblebee. Bumblebee was good. Only did 127. So I decided instead to put at my number 10 slot Pixar's Elemental.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Yeah, I want this to be good. I want this to be a great movie. Like I don't feel a buzz for it. I love Pixar. I love that brand, but I feel like it's been devalued by Disney over the last 5 years. And I'm not sure if people are super excited for this movie. I feel bad for director Pete Sohn, who is this great guy that's worked for Pixar since almost the beginning, and he's gotten the opportunity to direct 2 films, and it's like the first one was Good Dinosaur, which we know what happened with that. He got pulled in late into it, and this one is more personal to him, and I really haven't seen some of the footage and stuff. It looks like it's actually going to be pretty good, but are people excited? I don't know. I think it's I hope it's number 10.
God, that's so fascinating, because Peter is justifying it being so low, but the actual narrative is that it bombed its opening weekend and did so well. So you got it right, dead on, nailed it, respect. But your argument was completely the wrong thing, because
we all have such
direction. Right, from the opposite direction.
Right, exactly. We have such reverence for Pixar, and this is a Pixar movie that had to really gut it out to get here.
Right. I roundly dismissed this choice because I did not, I put it as my dark horse. I said this is nonsense to put it in top 10. Here's the thing, guys. When this movie opened with $29 million,
insane.
I was like, oh, I'm completely vindicated. There's no way this thing is getting into the top 10.
I think it's the second. I should have looked this up before I said it. It's one of the 2 lowest Pixar openings ever, with the first Toy Story.
We're like, this thing is stick a fork in it. This thing is dead.
Yeah, toast.
Ends up legging it all the way out to $154 million, which is incredible. It's incredible. That is pure word of mouth, pure movie quality that gets it to that point. It's one of the biggest stories of the summer.
There wasn't a lot of competition.
Yeah, I mean, and also, look, these movies cost $200 million. They're very expensive, and at the end of the day, it's not a big hit that I think they wanted. It did make $480 million worldwide, so it's not like bad or anything. It did just fine. It's not a bomb. It did just fine.
I think what I was saying speaks to the marketing, and people. There just wasn't a buzz for it. It didn't like people didn't watch the trailer and be like, "Oh, I need to see that opening weekend." And I'm not sure how people found it. Was it because people saw it and then people liked it, and then there was the word of mouth, or was it because later on there was not many? There were a lot of kid options. So why did it take off? Was it the word of mouth?
I think it's a sweet, lovely, heartfelt movie that people enjoyed watching, and it got around. I think that the word of mouth got around.
People heard our review, or people heard us Pixar movies in years.
Filmcast effect.
Yeah,
there was Little Mermaid, but there wasn't anything very specifically family oriented this summer. Like Barbie, you could have brought a certain age of kids to, and Little Mermaid, Spider-Verse. But I think this was the one that felt safest, maybe at least that with the best quality. I'm sure there's something else that didn't even make it here. Turtles even was a little bit. You saw that, you're like, ooh, that might be a little too hip for my younger children. I don't know, but I think that
I'm gonna throw a shout out for Asian American filmgoers. I'm gonna say Asian American filmgoers often will turn out for these kind of movies, and this movie was directed by an Asian American. It's arguably about Asian American immigrants, although you could read it to be about any immigrant story generically. And I know that there was a lot of people from the Asian American diaspora who, once they learned about this movie that, in my opinion, was not very well marketed, they're like, you got to go out and see this movie. And so
that was the best part of that movie, and it was marketed as just a love story, and I was like,
exactly,
market this part of it. This is
exactly. It was very odd. So
according to Dennis at thesummermoviewager.com, this was my biggest mistake. That I had Elemental low. I had it at 8. But according to Dennis, if I had put it 2 slots lower at number 10 and got it spot on like Peter, I would have won, even without Barbie on my list.
Huh.
By the way, everybody else's biggest mistake is Barbie.
Yeah.
What
is so
Dennis, crazy because Jeff didn't put it on the list.
Yeah. It's not my biggest mistake, guys. Sorry.
So Dennis was, Dennis tweets out statistics and says who might win and so on throughout the summer. And I was stunned that 3 weeks or 4 weeks ago, I had a 46% chance of winning. And the thing that was gonna win it for me, here's what needed to happen for me to win the summer movie wager, is Blue Beetle opens and gets to number 8. If that happened, I would have won the summer movie wager. Or actually, no, gets to number 9. I think it was.
Deserved it. Deserved
real
it.
Moonshot. Real moonshot.
Yeah, so I was literally I was telling where are my Beetleheads? I was telling all the people in the Slack, where are my Beetleheads, guys? Gotta get out and see the Blue Beetle in the theaters. Didn't happen. Did not happen. Look, here's the thing. In a summer where pretty much anything is possible, I thought, hey, that's actually possible. Blue Beetle might get up there, but it didn't. It didn't. Okay. There's a few other things we need to discuss. So that's the top 10. Elemental, 153 million. I'm happy that it actually got on the top 10. Sad for my list, which didn't have it, but happy that Pixar got what is a moderate win. We got to talk about a few other titles, guys. Specifically, the movies that just didn't make the top 10, right?
Man.
Number 11, Fast 10 with $145 million.
Because it should have been called Fasten Your Seatbelts.
Fast 10.
Fast 10 Your Seatbelts. Yeah.
I am such a big Fast and the Furious fan. I am a huge fan. In the next room, I have Lego cars, whatever you want. I have the Toretto house. I hated this movie. I'm so sorry, Louis. I know you're a big fan of the Filmcast and you're listening.
Louis listened to the original Summer Movie Wager episode.
Before. Exactly.
Oh my god, dude!
But he saw my review.
What if Louis listens? Hey, we gotta compliment some Louis Leterrier movies, guys.
Louis knows what.
Transporter 2, amazing.
Yes.
Unleashed,
Danny the dog.
The Incredible Hulk has some great qualities. Now You See Me 2, I have no comment. Or Now You See Me 1, I should say.
You're not doing the thing. You're not doing it.
This is not Louis' fault. Louis came into this movie late.
We know whose fault this is.
Right.
His name begins with
It's amazing this is a movie that exists. That is, understandable.
The fact that it exists is because of Louis Leterrier.
Yes.
So great job, Louis.
Yes,
I agree. I'm not a fan of the Fast and Furious franchise, and I had a blast with this movie. I thought it was.
I liked it too. It's just it didn't have that je ne sais quoi of a Justin Lin.
I loved Momoa in this. Like, he was just so good.
He's so great. He makes the movie. He's the best.
Yes.
Best villain in that entire franchise.
Jermaine, you have some more thoughts. Go ahead.
We could talk all day about it, it's like you take Fast and Furious is all about family, right? And then you're like, oh, here we got 1-2 scenes with family, and then the whole family gets split up for the entire movie, and you get to spend Vin Diesel by himself, which sounds okay, but you think about other Fast and Furious movies, he always had a foil, be it John Cena or mostly Paul Walker. Now, Vin on himself is not interesting. And so you get a whole movie of Vin Diesel just running around and all his friends who are more interesting doing other things. It just doesn't work. Now, and then you have the cliffhanger ending, almost literally. And it's like, oh God, great effects. Momoa's insane in it. But I'm not surprised that it didn't do so well because it just does not have that Fast and Furious excitement. Like even like I most people hate 9. I like 9 because it had at least some of that like weird mythology in it that makes no sense. This did not. It's just oh God, I'm so disappointed by it as a fan.
What somebody pointed this out to me earlier this summer, and now I can't stop thinking about it. Is if you notice as the Fast and Furious movies continue, Vin Diesel hangs out with less and less of like the core crew, right? Like in this movie, he's mostly running around with that kid. Like
yes,
and I think
it's his kid.
Yeah. I think it's because I'm just talking about from an actor perspective, right? Like I think it's because the other people can't stand him. That's what he is a real egotistical person.
I've heard so many rumors about this movie about like why Justin Lin left and what the set was like, and I don't know.
It's like no one wants to hang with him.
But you also
nobody wants to hang with him.
You also hear stories. You also hear stories of them having like count how many punches people hit and stuff like that. Like I don't think he wants to share the spotlight with anybody. So I think it's number one. People
why bring in somebody like Momoa if you don't want to share? You know,
right. But they do share a couple of. But what Peter is referring to is the fact that the people behind the movie created a system of documenting how many times each person got punched or kicked or hit, so that there would be no unequivocal winner for any fight.
Specifically versus Statham, I believe, and also The Rock.
Statham and The Rock, and it's hard to have a franchise where the characters fight and there can't be a winner in the fight. Like
I do think like this sort of thing has existed in action movies before, like the 80s, like peak Schwarzenegger,
Schwarzenegger
versus Stallone. Like
right,
definitely, so they didn't do it. They didn't have an algorithm, but somebody was taking notes in terms of who's winning these fights and who's doing these punches.
There was never a Schwarzenegger versus Stallone movie.
No, never. But
Expendables and Release Plan were in together, but never. That was way later. Yeah.
But also Escape Plan, I think is what you're
Escape Plan.
Yes, exactly.
Jermaine. But also, look, The Rock. Like, sorry, Vin Diesel, you are no Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'm just gonna put that out there. You know, the Vin Diesel is no Sylvester Stallone. Vin Diesel is no Arnold Schwarzenegger. But I think he thinks he is, and that's become a problem for these movies.
I mean, listen, has Arnold Schwarzenegger single-handedly made a 10-movie long mythology lifted from nothing? Lifted from video on demand, from a video on demand or direct to DVD sequel with Tokyo Drift? Like
the answer is
that's something.
The answer is no. And neither has Vin Diesel, but Vin Diesel thinks he's done it. So
I mean, Vin Diesel's absolutely the guiding force of like what resurrected this, but also Justin Lin.
Has Arnold Schwarzenegger dragged a helicopter down onto the ground with just his mind?
He has not.
I'm pretty sure that happened in one of those weird Terminator sequels. We don't
That's so true. Okay.
I just think it's I mean, none of us thought this movie would perform as poorly as it did. All of us thought it would be in the top 10. It only missed the top 10 by $8 million. So, not a huge bomb, but I think this clearly shows this franchise is waning, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But Vin Diesel showed up at the red carpet. He announced that this is the first of a trilogy. Now, Universal has not announced this. He announced this like on the red carpet. Like,
in
Jermaine,
his mind,
what do you think is going to happen, Jermaine?
There's not going to be a trilogy.
Well, yeah. I mean, again, this is they're going to make a part. My guess is they're going to make the part 11 and then make a whole movie to explain how The Rock came back, which is what this is the one thing that has been. That
announced. Was the rumor that happened after that.
Yeah, that was the part that was announced that they're going to be a Rock spinoff. Because you know what I think about Fast and Furious, and I want to see the guy who doesn't drive, and then part 11. Yeah.
Okay, so you think there's going to be a Rock movie and then another Fast movie? And
Correct.
That'll
That's
be
the
it.
trilogy.
That'll be it for the canonical mainline Fast and Furious franchise.
Such a shame.
Yeah.
Until the inevitable reboot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The Flash also is a one we missed. I mean, somebody had it as high as 4.
Well,
right?
Jeff, I'm going to get to that momentarily.
Oh, sorry.
So I just want to say one last thing, actually, Jeff. You're right. We all missed it. The floor on the top 10 was a little bit higher this year. Usually it's around like 120, 130. This year, the lowest movie was Elemental, did 153. So
Devindra said that in his Mission Impossible thing.
And your Mission Impossible thing. So another thing that you called Devindra. All right. So anyway, just wanted to point that out. I'm gonna put this out there too, guys, and maybe we'll talk a little bit more about this in a bit. But I think the floor is going to be a lot lower next year. I'm just going to put that out there. I think it's not going to be 153 next year.
May not be as many movies next year.
I think we will really struggle to fill the top 10 next year, assuming we even do this next year. Assuming there's
Sound
even
of Freedom 2 is on the way. So
yeah, okay. At number 12 is The Flash. This is a movie that I put at number 4. I put it high. This is my Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. This is
your Waterloo.
Bet. This is my This is my Alamo. This is my big get. And not only did I put it at number 4, I ridiculed one Jeff Kanata for not putting it as high as me. Here is what I said back then. I was really nervous Jeff was going to pick my number 4, and then I'd have the same list as Jeff's, which is like, I don't want the stench of death on my list, please. So that'll be an upsetting development for me. But also, now I'm nervous because no one else has chosen what my number 4 movie is going to be. This could be my downfall. But my number 4 choice for the summer 2023 domestic box office is The Flash.
Right. Interesting.
I had no idea where to put that movie, man. That movie is a complete wild card to me.
James Gunn, the head of Warner Brothers, has been saying this is the best, if not like one of the best, if not the best superhero film they've ever seen. They haven't been saying that about Blue Beetle. They haven't been saying that about Shazam. Yeah, like take it with a grain of salt because they have financial interest.
It to be
but they're not saying that about the other movies.
James Gunn, head of DC, not a head of Warner Brothers.
By the way, I love.
No. James Gunn and the head of Warner Brothers.
Zaslav,
but guys, nothing David Zaslav has ever said or done would ever be objectionable, right? Right. I should put all my chips on Zaslav.
He has
right,
full
guys?
grasp of everything. He
is the master of his domain. He knows everything that's going on, right, guys?
I think it would be amazing. I wish we did have a time machine because it would be amazing to say. When you were going like, I think Flash is going to be number 4. If somebody was like, you know what, the actual number 4 movie is Oppenheimer. That would have sounded like the most insane thing to speculate at that time. It's just wild how things work out.
Yeah. So I was really wrong. I was wronger than anyone else about The Flash, and the thing is, I saw that movie. I really enjoyed it. I was like, "This is great.
I enjoy it. I enjoy it.
This is what I want in a superhero film."
But it has the opposite of what Barbie had, like anti-buzz.
Basically.
Anti-buzz.
Like,
right.
Well, that's true. Dave, you said earlier about how like the difference between positive buzz and negative buzz online is kind of the similar, and I think The Flash had.
No. What my point earlier was that it's hard to distinguish between a movie that has good buzz and is going to be a hit, and a movie that has good buzz and is going to bomb.
Because
it's really hard to tell the difference.
It's almost like buzz means nothing.
It's almost like Lightyear didn't make the top 10.
No, buzz means a lot, actually.
Nice. I get it.
But this movie had such a big stink on it because when you talked about the marketing and the stuff that you talked about, they set the expectation so high. And Michael Keaton, oh my God, so high. And then they kind of did that on purpose to get rid of the stink of this movie had 47 directors before and writers and Ezra Miller and
it came out way too late.
Too late. And the fact that now it had to fit into this new James Gunn world and people were confused about, do I need to see it? There was so much bad stuff rumbling up underneath it that kind of overstock what you thought of the movie, period, the buzz. And then, of course, like the visual effects became a whole thing. It was so much crap that rolled up on it that it felt like the anti-Barbie in terms of online buzz.
I enjoyed it more than Indiana Jones. I'll say that.
Yeah, I like them both.
Yeah, guys, it turns out that audiences don't want to see the end of Man of Steel again. That's what we learned from The Flash. Is people don't care that much about how Man of Steel ended.
Babies in microwaves, not popular.
Not as popular. But I think very few of us. I think we all had this in our top 10, right? We all, everyone had this about midway through the top 10 list.
I had none of us. I think I had it 7.
You had it 7. Jeff had it low. Jeff was the most accurate, the closest to where
Least
this would
wrong.
actually end up. Yeah. But I don't think
any of us. This is like it. Honestly, 108 million for a Flash movie isn't unreasonable. I think what set everybody up for expectations was Michael Keaton.
Yeah,
and Batman.
We thought it was a Batman movie.
Yeah, it was a Batman movie. It was being marketed as a Batman movie. But if you look at it compared to like what the last Wonder Woman did 46 million. Do you know what I mean? It's like
it should have done 108 million opening weekend though. You know, and
wait, sorry, which movie, Peter? Which movie did 46 million?
Wasn't it Wonder Woman 1984?
Oh, well,
that's COVID thing too as well.
COVID, yeah.
Yeah, that came out during COVID, man. That was December of 2020. 2020.
But Pete, you're getting all this stuff wrong. Obviously, we know the results here.
He couldn't possibly win 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
Okay, so, Shazam did 58 million or 57 million.
There you go. That's good. Like I said, I think we probably all thought this was going to do like 100 million opening weekend. Oh my God, big superhero movie. Everybody knows The Flash from TV, this and that. But that's the other thing. Most people could have watched 9 seasons of The Flash on TV and it just ended. And then a movie came out that's completely unrelated. And it's like, that had to hurt too. So many, again.
Yeah.
But it was Batman. I don't know. I thought Batman.
I'm just saying in retrospect, looking back at it, these are things that were against it.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're looking at trends for the summer though, is like people don't like the people that loved Michael Keaton as Batman, that liked Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones, are not going to the movie theater to see them as old people playing those roles.
Unless they have podcasts.
I also think the Batman thing was kind of a necessity because they couldn't really put their main star front and center for a wide variety of very unfortunate, terrible reasons. So,
I just don't think that. I don't think it's as easy to make that claim because Top Gun is sitting right there.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
To make Peter.
Yeah. Like
I mean, it feels like the one outlier there.
You know, these are old, tired, nostalgic things, but like so's Top Gun.
Yeah, I think the difference though with Top Gun is that movie came out so much longer and was just one movie. Like it definitely had a hold. Tom Cruise became a star out of it. It didn't have Batman had several sequels. Indiana Jones had several sequels. They were around. So I think Top Gun Maverick, you could have come in as like a newbie and been like, oh, they made a movie with this guy before. You could have, but Indiana Jones and Flash, I think you could have been like, oh yeah, I definitely missing something here. I think that's the difference. And also the level of quality is always,
the quality level is the thing. But I thought Flash was good, but also like the point you just made could have been easily. I could imagine that being a reason that Top Gun would do worse. Right? It's like there's only one movie. So long ago, people don't even remember it. You know, it's like that's all unpredictable.
That was my argument for a while.
Yeah,
Batman. Keaton's Batman was supposed to be reintroduced in Batgirl too. So that was
and in Aquaman
I wonder. Yeah,
I'm going to put this out there, Jeff. I think we need to start viewing Top Gun Maverick as the result, as a fluke that's the result of irreplicable circumstances. Agreed that all your logic does, and maybe there will be a Top Gun Maverick again in the future. But other than Top Gun Maverick, all of Peter's logic I think applies.
Right.
And maybe that's just a one-time, like once in a 5 to 10 year thing that like we're not going to see again for a while. You know, is my guess, right?
But it's all like also all of it could be a fluke. You know, it's all a fluke. It's the Barbenheimer's a fluke.
Right.
You know, it's like
it's true.
Who knows?
For sure.
You're right. Every year really is the result of irrevocable circumstances. But that's fair. I don't know. If I had to bet on what the trend is going to be, though, I do think it's going to be people want to see less like old guys doing stunts. Like I think that's going to be next year. There might be more of those movies, and it's going to be like those movies will not do well. Is my guess. But maybe next year when we're doing this episode, I'll replay me saying this, and I'll be wrong about that. So
and to be fair, Batman, it was not an old guy doing stunts. It was a man half his age, a quarter his age, doing all the stunts.
Okay, so The Flash, $108 million, huge disappointment. And also, guys, one other thing I want to mention: the old DC universe is dead. Like it is gone. Like
nope.
Well,
Aquaman too, man.
Oh.
We have a teaser
He's
for
always
teaser.
there.
All right. Yeah, teaser for teaser. Okay, so okay. how well do you guys think Aquaman 2 is going to do? Let's call it right now.
Oh,
I'm
boy.
forcing you guys.
A winter movie wager, you say.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
So Aquaman 1, okay? That movie made 335 domestic, 1.15 billion worldwide. Every single DC film has failed horribly this year. Shazam, Blue Beetle, The Flash, all those movies have tanked hard.
Yeah.
Is Aquaman going to...
But he lives in a tank.
Yeah, he lives in a tank.
He loves being
what
in
if
a
you start
tank?
in the tank?
Is Aquaman going to prove them all wrong?
Listen.
Or is it going to be the nail in the coffin of the DC universe? What do you guys think?
I have seen the teaser for the teaser, and I will say those images look pretty cool. Like there's enough there. I'm like, yeah, we like Jason Momoa in Fast 10. You want more, crazy James Bond action? Like, yeah, I think maybe not as much as the first one.
It's a weak like winter movie season in terms of big spectacle stuff.
Everything's moving. Yeah,
everything's moving. There's like Wonka and there's Marvels. I think it's gonna do. It's not going to come close to that. I think it's gonna do like 250 eventually, and maybe like 6. That's
250.
That's really
250.
Good.
That's
huge.
really
I was going to say 200. I thought that was like out of the.
Yeah. I think it's gonna do okay. I think people are gonna want to see. I think it's James Wan. I think he'll kind of salvage something.
The thing with the thing about 2023 that I don't think we really talked about is this year has shown us new lows for how bad these superhero films can do. Right, Shazam and Blue Beetle and also Quantumania, like those are lowest respectively of like DC Universe and Marvel franchise. So Jermaine thinks it's going to make half as much as Aquaman 1, but still be a hit. Right?
Yeah,
that's 250 is not half as much. So
yeah, it's a little more.
I think
two-thirds as much. Yeah,
I think 150 feels fair. For
that's
that.
what I was leaning for. I think it's. I don't think it's going to be Blue Beetle or. I don't think it's going to tank. I don't think it's going to be the Flash.
Yeah,
I think it's going to do. I think it's going to do decent box office.
Yeah,
but I don't think it's going to be a hit.
Yeah.
Also, they can't have a junket. They don't have actors doing press. They don't have directors doing press. They don't
have a full-length trailer at this point 3 months before the movie begins.
That's not true. I saw the trailer at CinemaCon in April. It comes out this week. It'll be out by the time this comes out. And James Wan will be available. Yes, they were just for some
they haven't released the full trailer.
No, they have not. They have not. It is a weird timing thing. Usually, we have trailers for everything else coming out.
Once again, Jermaine has seen the material before making the judgment.
I'm saying 200 million, which I think I'm probably too high, but
I think it's lower than that. I think it has 1 as the first number, but I don't think it's a double digit number. I think it's a triple digit number.
I actually think I think you're right about that. And I think 150 actually sounds really reasonable to me, Jeff. So all right, well guys, we'll check back in 3 months, which is a shockingly low amount of time, and see which one of us is right.
I don't want to hear that Christmas is 3 months away. That's not what I want to hear.
I know, right? It doesn't feel, I guess, is it technically 3 months? Is it?
I mean, basically, right?
Yeah. That is upsetting. Okay. So number 13, that would be Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, a movie that some of us, we all had on our dark horses. Other than me.
I really liked it.
I didn't put it as a dark horse.
It's great fun, and it just came out real late.
Exactly. Yeah.
Too late.
I think it lived up quality-wise to what we would hope for, and just money-wise, it just didn't have the time.
Yeah.
If it came out in July, it would have been on my list for sure.
Okay. Couple of other things before we wrap up here. The only other thing, so what other movies did we choose in our lists that ended up not making it into the top 10 at all? Devindra had Meg to the Trench.
I did
on his dark horses.
Yep.
That did not. It did okay. It wasn't terrible, but it didn't make it into the top 10. Meg to the Trench made $80 million domestic. I had Blue Beetle. I was a Blue Beetle believer until the very bitter end. I had Blue Beetle as my dark horse, and I really believe that it.
Most of us had Haunted Mansion as a dark horse. Too.
All of us, everyone except Devindra had Haunted Mansion as a dark horse. Haunted Mansion was not reviewed great. It made $65 million domestic. So, yeah, and that is the summer of 2023. Mistakes were made.
Yeah.
But
mistakes were made.
At the end of the day, it's really impressive. We all made top
list
10
of movies.
A list of movies for the
we
top
were
10
able to
movies.
write
We wasted
10
hours of our
down.
lives.
That
Yeah.
we
On a
were
piece
able
of
to
paper.
write 10 movies down on a piece of
It
paper.
is very impressive
in
that we managed
numerical
that.
order. In numerical order. Okay. So I want to ask you all, I guess, like the only thing, we've already shared a bunch of lessons learned. I gotta say, I'm very nervous about next year, just because I remember last year we had a lot of difficulty even populating the top 10 list, and I feel like we're gonna run into the same difficulty next year because of
we may have to
right?
change things up next year. I don't know. I don't make the rules for the summer movie wager, but I would also just throw this out there. Let's diversify this pool a little bit, because I think that would help too.
The other thing is that was also a possibility that was brought up this year. That we didn't actually put into place, but we seriously considered it, was like what to do in the event that a movie that we chose doesn't come out. Like, could you make a substitution of some kind?
Well, we don't have to talk about that now, but
yeah.
yes. Thankfully,
but
that didn't happen this summer.
That didn't happen this summer, but it I have a feeling it might. I guess I bring it up, Jeff, just because like the specter of things changing up is like in previous years, 5 years ago, like we wouldn't even really talk about that. Like that's just like.
Well, we didn't get a trailer or anything for the Meg 2 until like 4 weeks before it came out, or 3 weeks. It was weird.
Like, is that movie even coming out?
Yeah.
I seem to remember there being some word that Oppenheimer might be moved out of the summer.
That was a rumor.
No, that wasn't.
Yeah, that was bad.
That was a fake thing. Or it was not.
I remember we discussed it.
I bring it up just because, like we are still in the process of coming out of the COVID era in terms of like stabilizing releases, and unfortunately, we're going to go into a period of great instability in the near future.
And
again.
COVID itself is like having another rise too. So who knows how that's going to affect?
Who knows how that'll play out? But yeah. So anyway,
I feel like the easiest way to deal with that is give 1 point for a movie this
yeah,
because
yeah, go ahead.
That's kind of what dark horses are for, I don't know.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, just some thoughts on next year and some behind the scenes on this year. One other thing I wanted to mention before we get to the winner of this year's Summer Movie Wager, which is there is one person. So the winner of this year's Summer Movie Wager, I'm not going to say who it is yet, got 46 points. Okay. The winner overall of the leaderboard is a user named Callie Raisin, who got 74 points.
Wow. California Raisins? Wow.
We tried to reach out to this person, but they did not leave an email address, so we can't contact them. But whoever Callie Raisin is out there, so let me tell you some of the things that Callie Raisin did on their list. Okay,
Callie Raisin.
Raisin got
props.
Yeah, so Callie Raisin got they put Spider-Verse number 1 and Barbie number 2. So right off the bat, they got 14 points for those.
This is crazy.
Guardians, Oppenheimer, and Little Mermaid, they hit all those 3 dead on. That's 3, 4, and 5. They got those exactly correct. And Indiana Jones: The Dial of Destiny, they dead on at number 7, and also Transformers: Rise of the Beast, dead on at number 9.
The thing that's
incredible.
Amazing
no
about
hard feelings
this.
at 10 is the only mistake. Come on.
No hard feelings. They put it number 10. But yeah.
The thing that's most amazing about this is that what's the name again?
Callie Raisin.
Callie Raisin. It is our honor to be able to tell you that you will be replacing David Chen on the podcast going forward. Wow. Congratulations!
Wow. I'm also learning about this news literally as we speak. So that's amazing.
We heard that. Yeah. We heard that through the grapevine, Callie.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right. So anyway, congratulations to Callie Raisin. A staggering outcome. That's someone who I'm like, I wish I could talk to them to get inside their head and understand how they made those choices.
Sure.
Like that's
incredible.
Amazing. Right?
I've also got a lot of listeners well above our scores. Yeah. So many.
That's not atypical though.
That's
at least 200. I'm saying.
I'm convinced Callie Raisin is a time traveler that went back in time, made their votes, made a couple mess ups just so it doesn't look too perfect. You can't like have every single answer. Then it's like suspicious.
That would be suspicious. Yeah. It is notable though that like of all the thousands of people that entered, no one like, and this happens every year, but like I don't think anyone got like dead on every single one, right? So
that's the Holy Grail.
Yeah, that's the Holy Grail. One day it'll happen.
That's the dial of destiny.
All right. So I think that's going to bring us to the end of the episode. So let's talk about who was the number one winner. Let's count up to it, I guess. In dead last with 33 points, it's Jermaine Lucier and me, David Chen. Woo!
Tie for last.
Of all the people that were last, we were the best at it. So yeah. Coming in third place with 37 points, Jefferson Kanata.
I made the podium.
Amazing.
I made the podium.
That's what No Trailers gets you.
Woo! Yeah. Woo! Coming in at second place with 42 points, Devindra Hardawar. Woo!
So
Nicely
close.
done. Pretty close. And coming in first place for the second fucking year in a row.
Incredible. He repeatered.
Yeah.
Oh,
wow.
Good one.
Peter Serretta, 46 points. Peter Serretta, congratulations. The critical moves that Peter made, he dead hit Spider-Verse at number 2, giving him 10 points. He dead hit Elemental at number 10, giving him 13 points. Peter Serretta, how does it feel?
It feels great. I mean, I'm going to need some better competition next year.
Wow.
Fair.
Wow. That's why Callie Raisin is replacing Dave Chen on the podcast.
Peter, you were 2 Blue Beetle spots away from losing and to me on this show. And that's the thing, Jeff Kanata pointed this out, but like our lists were all extremely similar, right? It was just a little bit here, a little bit there. Peter Serretta making Spider-Verse number 2 was like the biggest kind of Hail Mary gambit, whatever you want to call it.
But Elemental, when you hit one of the one or 10 dead on is almost is not a lock, but it helps. And there,
it really helps a lot. Yeah. So, Peter, congratulations.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, we all heard the tape. Like the Spider-Verse call was a really great one. Really great one. So nicely done. All right, so Peter Serretta, as part of your prize, you get to choose what we all watch. But before we do that, let's talk about a few credits for the podcast. Jermaine Lucier, senior reporter at IO9 Gizmodo. Jermaine, why don't you let us know where you can find more of your work on the internet?
Yeah, io9.com, and I'm still on all the socials, even the bad ones, like that, at Jermaine Lucier.
He's on all of that. He's on Gab. He's on Truth Social.
MySpace,
he's on Truth Social.
Yes. On the bad ones.
He's on Rumble. Okay, anyway. Peter Serretta, where can you find more of your work on the internet?
You can find me at Ordinary Adventures on YouTube. Right now, we're covering the Halloween season, so we went to Oogie Boogie Bash, Halloween Horror Nights. We're doing a lot of that kind of stuff. So if you're interested in the like haunted horror events, go check it out on Ordinary Adventures on YouTube.
This podcast exists because of the folks at patreon.com/filmpodcast. Thank you so much for your support. If you want to sign up for ad-free episodes and exclusive After Darks, patreon.com/filmpodcast is where you can do that. Find more episodes of thefilmcast.com. Find us across all platforms at the Filmcast Pod. I want to give a big shout out to Noah Ross, who helped me with a lot of the clips from this episode. I also want to give a shout out to Kurt Mega, who helps with the video work. And the editing of this podcast was done by me, David Chen. All right, next week on the podcast, we are going to be covering Bottoms. Going to be a fun episode of the show. Got a great guest lined up for that episode, and so you should look forward to that episode. And we got some fun stuff coming up over the next few weeks. I'm really looking forward to the slate that we're going to be covering. So stay tuned to the Filmcast for more great fun and coverage of the hottest movies that are out in theaters right now. Peter Serretta, let us know.
He's going to make us watch Go again.
What is the thing that you have chosen? So you could have chosen. What'd you say, Jeff?
He's going to make us watch Go again.
Yeah. Let's do it. Go again.
Last year, I decided to pull out like a movie I really liked that like a lot of people hadn't seen. I was like, I'll do good in this world. And then you guys crapped all over the movie. Didn't like the movie. Outdated. I get it.
Now he's drunk with power.
No.
Yes. So this year I'm pulling the Dave Chen card out.
Oh no.
And I'm picking a movie that is a bad movie. I'm gonna make you guys watch. You are getting punished with, and actually not really, because so there's this movie that came out in 2012. It premiered at the Seattle International Film Festival.
Bad enough already.
All right.
Yes, I
We're
saw
World Class
it.
Festival.
Is it
Yeah.
called 2012?
No, I saw it. I'm leading up to it. I saw it at the Button-Umathon. The Tim League showed it at Button-Umathon. This is a film by a filmmaker named Neil Breen, and it's called Fateful Findings. And it might be one of the best, worst movies I've ever seen. So you might enjoy it because people actually say it's better than The Room. In terms of, it's like that kind
Not
of movie.
Not a high bar. Better than The Room.
This poster is really making me worry.
Oh my god!
Look at this poster.
I've seen. Yes, this is a legendary.
Yeah.
It is.
What's the
You've
title
seen
again?
I have not seen it. I've seen the trailer.
Fateful Findings.
It is a legendarily terrible film. It is a legendarily terrible.
This looks fun. Just the trailer playing right now looks fun.
Yeah. And by the way, if anybody out there plans to watch this before we do that episode, whenever that happens, invite all your friends over to see this. Like, this is a movie that will play better with like a whole crowd of people. And I'm basically just doing this.
3 IMDb rating.
Yeah.
It looks like it's only going to cost me $13 to watch this movie.
Find it somehow.
I know. We'll find it.
But I'm doing this all because I want at the end of the episode for David Chen to say at the end of the day, it's remarkable that Neil Breen
made a movie.
And I wanted to say
more fun with this than with Go, to be honest. So yeah.
All right. Well, that is Peter's choice. Fateful Findings.
Our fates.
This is brilliant. Congratulations, Peter.
Congratulations.
Nice work,
we can't leave the episode without once again saying that David Chen came in last.
Thank God. That's all we hope for.
It will just make my eventual victory next year all the sweet. You keep laying it on, Jeff. It will just make my eventual victory all the sweeter. All right. Well, that is going to bring us to the end of this episode of the Filmcast. Thank you so much for watching this video of the Filmcast. Check out these other videos that we have available, and be sure to hit like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon to get other videos from us in the future.
You can also go to thefilmcast.com to catch all of our audio podcast versions of all of our episodes.
And support this podcast at patreon.com/filmpodcast, where you can sign up for ad-free episodes and exclusive After Darks.
Thanks so much to everyone who makes the Filmcast possible.